Live once again from Wellington, it's Malignant Bear, featuring me, JD Grasspitz. Hello everyone, and welcome to the stream. Tonight, we're continuing our playthrough of Please Be Happy. This is the completely safe for work, I'm not saying that sarcastically or anything, 100% safe for work, yuri visual novel from Studio Élan. We are playing this partly out of viewer request and partly in recognition of it being Pride Month, of course, the month of June. So, as I mentioned previously, this was one of my games of the year last year, and usually we don't play visual novels, dramatic ones, in their entirety on stream. The description of this video gets into that in a little bit more detail as to why we're doing that differently for this one now. But yeah, last time, on the first stream, we got through all of Chapter 1, the introduction to this world and these characters. We are playing as Miho. She is a magical fox girl. She can turn back and forth between human and fox. And she wound up in Wellington, sort of a fantastical version of Wellington, New Zealand, and has met with Juliet, who owns a library and seems to be rather wealthy. Find out a little bit more about her pretty soon here. And Aspen, who is a kind of very cliched sort of bookworm who frequents the library and works in a cafe called the Bell House. Miho is not good at dealing with people, has lived, by her estimation, hundreds of years, and has never had friends or family or anything, and has decided after meeting these two people, and the fact that they remember her for the first time ever. She has some magical thing where people just forget her. These two people remember her and seem to have genuine concern and care for her, so she has decided to stop running and settle down, at least for now, in Wellington and interact with these two people. So, again, we're picking it up at the start of Chapter 2. Miho's decided to stay in Wellington with Juliet at the library. So, go ahead and load.
Ooh, I needed that break. Back to it.
So, Chapter 2, A Life Worth Living. Here we go. For the second day in a row, I wake up in a soft bed. My bed. It's early. The library downstairs is silent. No one else is here, aside from Juliet. I didn't even transform before falling asleep last night. Just passed out like this, with human arms and legs. No wonder I'm sore. After I agreed to Juliet's offer, the rest of the day passed by quickly. Aspen and Juliet showed me around the house part of the library, and Juliet made dinner for the three of us. Aspen didn't leave until the evening, and I decided to go to bed early. After the whirlwind of emotions I went through yesterday, I was exhausted and fell asleep as soon as my head hit the pillow. Not having to be on alert the moment I open my eyes is a nice change. I can toss and turn and even doze a little bit longer. Get as much rest as my body will let me. Once I've had my fill of being lazy, I finally crawl out of bed.
Okay, time to get up.
It doesn't take me long to get ready. Tiptoe to the door out of habit, so carefully that only someone with super keen hearing would be able to hear me. But then I remember.
Oh yeah, I don't need to sneak around while I'm here.
It's worth pointing out before we get any further that Miho, despite now living in a library, is illiterate. So, deal with that too. I loosen up and step out into the hallway, shutting the door behind me. Being so openly noisy is almost harder than being sneaky. The building is still quiet. Juliet told me to come find her when I wake up, so I make my way down the hallway towards the room she showed me yesterday. It's the last one in the hall, tucked away in a corner. Unlike the other doors, a tiny bit of flickering light escapes from the gap below.
This is the place.
Now that I'm standing here, my nerves start to get the better of me. What if she's forgotten me this time and chases me away? Or what if... I screw my eyes shut and take a deep breath, pushing away my worries. I'm gonna stay here a while. I need to stop thinking like that. I can't let that fear keep winning. Forcing myself to be brave, I twist the doorknob and enter. Wait, I should have knocked, shouldn't I? It's too late now. I step into the room, only to be struck by how dark it is. Just one window, the main light source's candlelit lamp, illuminating the white-clothed figure sitting at her desk. Just like the library downstairs, there are rows and rows of books covering the shelves around the room. Juliet gets up to greet me, with a gentle smile written on her face.
Oh, good morning, Miho. Did you sleep well?
She remembered me. I hide my relief, I think.
I sure did. I think that might have been the best sleep I ever had.
I'm most glad to hear it. Would you like to sit down?
Oh, sure. Thanks.
There's only one other seat, so I awkwardly sit down across from her. Feels a little bit like an interrogation.
Would you like some tea?
I've never had tea, so I don't know if I'll like it or not. I think I should accept her offer out of politeness, though.
Sure.
Juliet pulls a teacup from a shelf nearby and sets it on a little plate, then pours the tea without spilling a single drop. She pushes the plate with the cup over to me.
Sugar?
I've eaten enough human snacks to know that I like sugar.
Yes, please.
Juliet offers me a small pot with little white cubes. Without hesitating, I take two and toss them in my mouth. They're kind of crunchy at first, but quickly fall apart. Juliet frowns just a little. Enough that a human probably wouldn't notice. Did I do something wrong? Wait, I know.
Oh, thank you.
That gets her to smile, so I'm pretty sure I did the right thing.
We'll have breakfast in a little while. Aspen usually comes by to help open the library, and then we eat together.
That sounds nice. Does she help out because of the sunlight?
My, that's astute of you. You're correct. Although I'm able to tolerate a bit of sun, I do prefer the dark. I wasn't sure if you knew I was a vampire or not.
I figured it out just now. That explains how you were able to hear me and find my den, huh?
Indeed. That said, I have my dear friend Orpheus to thank for helping me know where to find you.
Something scratches in the corner of the room, and I look up to notice a large bat dangling from a hook on one of the shelves. Has that been there this entire time?
Is he also...
No, Orpheus is a bat through and through, not a vampire. He happened to notice you on his way home one day.
So that's the friend you were talking about. I was wondering about that.
I have the pleasure of knowing several of Wellington's local bats. They keep me apprised of news from around the city.
You're not, like... you know...
I tap one of my front teeth, not sure how to ask the question politely.
Oh, heavens no! I consume as little blood as one of my kind can, and what I do partake of is freely donated. I love this city, and its people. I'd never had them like that. Besides, I had quite enough of that during my time in the underworld. Is that where you come from as well?
Oh, I'm not from the underworld. I'm from Korea. I've heard lots about it, though. I'm one of the only fabled I know of who doesn't come from there. For a long time, I didn't even know that other fabled existed.
Indeed. Gumio like yourself are some of the few I know of.
Wait, Gumiho? Is that what I'm called? That explains a lot.
You didn't know, but you go by the name Miho.
Just because I like the sound, I thought it was more like a nickname. I change it up wherever I go. Gumi, Homie, Migu. I've never had a real name. I didn't even know I had a kind. I've never met someone else like me. I wonder if we'd have much in common.
Have other foxes, well, Gumiho, lived the same kind of life I have? Maybe they're better at fitting in with people than I am. That's why I've never seen one.
Are there any other Gumio in Wellington?
None that I know of. It's possible, though.
I'm not sure what I'd say if I did meet one.
I'd wondered about others like me before, but since I've never met one, I eventually assumed they don't exist. Finding out they do, and there's even a name for us, comes as a pretty big surprise. No matter how long I've been alive, there's still so much I don't know about the world. As our discussion tapers off, the sound of the front door reaches my ears from downstairs. Juliet must have heard it too, looking over as I do.
Oh, that'll be Aspen. Shall we go down to breakfast?
I'll never say no to that.
Juliet takes to her feet, blowing out the lamp as she goes. Orpheus the Bat leaves the study when we do, though he flies off in a different direction. I guess he won't be joining us for the meal. I have to be careful not to spill my cup of tea as we walk down the stairs. Aspen waits at the bottom, a large book tucked under her arm. She waves with her free hand to greet us.
Good morning, Aspen. It's nice to see you again.
Good morning, Juliet. And you too, Miho. I must admit, I was a little worried you might run off during the night.
I may have thought about it a little. After I went to bed, though, I was out like a light.
Glad you decided otherwise, then. Living in the library sounds like heaven. I can't believe you'd think about giving that up. Anyway, I'm opening today, so I can't stay too late. I'll go ahead and take care of the windows.
I'll get started on breakfast then. Would you like grape or strawberry jam?
I think I'm feeling like strawberry today. Oh, or some of that orange marmalade if there's any left.
Orange marmalade slaps. So good. Paddington is... He knows what's up.
You have to let Miho try that too.
I'll see if we have it. Is that a nonce you have with you? You can just leave him on the desk for now.
It sure is. I'll be taking Jacques on the way out.
I'll write it down.
The two of them stroll off in different directions while I stand on the stairs, unable to follow any of the conversation.
Who's Jax? Anonce? I don't see anyone with you.
This is a nonce.
She taps the cover of the book she brought with her.
He's the author of this. Juliet suggested I read some of his work, but I'm finding him rather dull.
Huh.
I try my best to sound interested, but books are the most boring thing I can imagine. Maybe I'd see the appeal if I could read them, but how can they be better than doing things yourself? After setting the book down on the front desk, Aspen goes into the main room, leaving me alone in the hallway. I make my way down the rest of the steps. Looking at my teacup, I decide to take a tiny sip. Yuck. It's kind of bitter, but also bland at the same time. Frowning, I set the cup down on one of the shelves nearby. At least I tried it. The sugar was way better, though. The door Aspen went through is still open, and I can hear her bustling around. The room where Juliet went isn't far away either. I already smell food. Guess I'll go watch... So it's a visual novel. You get choices that you can make. Some of them are just little minor things. There are some major choices in, and we will talk about those when we get to them, but this is not one of them, so... I feel like it seems only fair that we're going to go and hang out with Juliet, that we're kind of in her house. Might be nice to follow my nose and head to the kitchen. There's a big frying pan on the stove with a blob of melting butter sizzling in it. Juliet gives the pan a push to move it around before walking to the counter to continue her work.
That smells great.
Oh, Miho, go ahead and take a seat if you'd like. This shouldn't take long.
I do what she suggests and sit down at the dinner table in the same spot as yesterday. Lovely smells swirl about the room as she opens this jar and that.
What you making?
Fried eggs and toast with some fresh fruit. It's what we usually have. Is that all right with you?
Better than alright. I'm almost drooling just thinking about it.
I hope that it lives up to expectations then.
I watch as she quickly butters a few slices of bread and then tosses them into another pan on the stove. While it cooks, she takes an apple from a nearby bowl of fruit and cuts out the core before swiftly chopping it into perfectly even pieces.
Sure did that fast.
Practice makes perfect, as they say, and I've had quite a lot of practice.
After moving the apple slices onto a plate, she takes an orange and starts to do the same thing.
The bats enjoy fruit as well, so I tend to keep a lot of it around the house. If there are any items you'd like me to keep around the house for you, do let me know.
Something tells me snacks from the convenience store aren't what she has in mind.
I'll tell you if I think of anything.
Juliet finishes the fruit before dropping the eggs into the pan with butter. They start to sizzle too. Finally, she slides the toast out and onto a plate. Right as the eggs finish cooking and Juliet sets the table for the three of us, Aspen daintily steps into the room.
All set on my end.
Thank you. I just finished cooking too.
We all sit down and dig in. The food, of course, is delicious.
So, Miho, how will you be spending your first day as an official Wellington resident?
She's gotta pay taxes now.
I don't know yet. Hadn't really thought about it. Now that you mention it, I'll have a lot more free time now, huh? Usually I'd go hunting for food, or looking for a better place to stay, or...
Instinctively, I go silent as I reach for my pocket in the familiar crumpling paper.
Or...
If it's something you don't want to share, don't feel that you must.
Right, that too.
I hesitate. I'm not sure I've ever told anyone about what I'm searching for, or at least not the specifics. I've had a lot of first times lately, though. What's one more? Besides, maybe the two of them can help.
No, it's okay. I've been looking for someone.
I wipe my hands first, making sure they don't have any crumbs or grease on them. Then I carefully slide the thin scroll from my pocket. I always keep it in the deepest part, where it won't get wet or damaged. With great care, I gently unroll it, letting the two women see the ink markings brushed onto the scroll. The edges are fuzzy with age by now, but the text is still legible. I think, anyway.
They gave me this a long time ago. I don't know what it says.
Is that Korean? Maybe Chinese? I'm not able to read either one, unfortunately.
They remind me of older Chinese characters, but I can't be certain myself. Sorry, but I'm not too familiar with them either.
They look a little defeated, but I quickly wave off their concern.
It's okay. Nobody I've asked could read it either. For all I know, they might just be scribbles. I thought that maybe if I knew what it said, it would help me find them.
Who exactly are they, if I may ask?
They're a traveler. I learned that word just to be able to describe them. They were the first human I ever met, and they told me stories about the rest of the world.
And you've been searching for them ever since then?
Yup. For as long as I can remember. I met them back in Korea, when I was a fox. I couldn't understand what they were saying. Not until much later.
Reminiscing about them gives me a very particular feeling. It's warm and fuzzy, but also a little sad. I think people call it nostalgia. My voice is a little quieter as I finish what I mean to say.
But that never stopped them from coming to see me. I don't know their name or even where they're from, but I'll definitely recognize them when I see them again.
Both Aspen and Juliet are quiet for a moment, visibly thinking over what I've said. After a long while, it's Juliet who speaks first.
In that case, I'd be happy to assist in any way I can.
Me too, of course. Speaking of which, I may have found something useful to you. I was doing a little bit of research on Miho last night. There was surprisingly little to be found compared to some of the other fabled.
Wait a sec. You found out that I'm a Gumio too?
Well, yes. It wasn't too difficult to look up. Is that odd?
So in less than a day, both Aspen and Juliet were able to learn something about myself that I couldn't in a lifetime.
I guess not.
I only realize how I sound after I've said it. Juliet shoots a look at Aspen, who quickly tries to move the discussion along.
Anyway, I was trying to find out why Juliet and I can remember you when nobody else can. Although I didn't find anything about memories in particular, there was one story that claimed a Gumiho's curse doesn't take effect until a full day later.
Oh, of course. And since you and I both saw Miho again before too much time passed, we didn't forget her.
Right, that also makes sense from what you told us yesterday, Miho, doesn't it? You said you don't tend to talk to people a second time.
Yeah, I usually try to avoid it, really.
I had never thought of my magic as a curse before, but I guess the person who forgets me it is.
So that means that all we have to do to avoid forgetting about Miho is...
It's impossible to miss the pause between Aspen's words, like she's not confident in what she's about to say.
see her every day. Forever.
Forever. That word hangs in the air. Aspen says it cheerfully, but even I can recognize just how impossible that is. At some point, even these two will forget me, won't they? Why even try then? Why bother if I know it'll just hurt in the end? On cue, those kinds of doubts start to swirl in my head like always. It's so tempting to just stop caring and give up on others. No, I won't let myself dwell on that, not on my first day living here. Who knows? Even if it's a long time from now, maybe these thoughts will go away for good. Juliet clears her throat before the silence goes on too long.
Well, that's not bad at all. Preserving the memory of those you hold dear is one of the most important parts of life.
Aspen ponders for a moment before nodding.
It really is.
It seems a little early for either of them to consider me dear to them, but I keep that to myself.
So, anyway, about Jacques?
For a relief, Aspen changes the subject away from me and my magic. As Aspen and Juliet chat between themselves, the conversation drifts onto things I don't know about and people and places I don't recognize. It's all probably related to books. I smile and laugh when they do, but I'm not really paying attention or talking. Listening to the two of them, they may as well be speaking a different language. The more I observe, the more it seems I'll have to learn. Not just about normal people and human life, but about myself as well, and even the world. And one day, both Aspen and Juliet were able to figure out what I am and how my magic works. I've had a long, long time to do that, and still had no idea. It doesn't even seem like it was hard for them. There's something I have to admit to myself there's something I have to admit to myself I haven't really tried before. Just what have I been missing out on? I feel something bubbling up inside me, the same feeling as yesterday when I decided to come back to the library instead of just running away. Something that makes me clench my fists and take a deep breath as I make another decision. Something that I realize I can put a name to, even if it's not a new one for me. This is what people call hope, even if it's pointless in the end.
I want to learn how to be a person.
Juliet cuts off whatever she was saying mid-sentence. Both she and Aspen turn to face me, eyes wide. Oops, I guess I should have started by waiting for them to stop talking.
You want to... what?
I've already messed this up, but I keep going.
Be a person. To know about the things you two are talking about. All the stuff that you give me a weird look for when I don't know. I want to learn about it.
I'd say that you're already well on your way.
Her expression becomes quite serious as she continues. I'm a little glad. She sees as much weight behind this as I feel about it.
Miho, there are some things that you can't rush or change overnight. This is definitely one of them. That said, starting can be the hardest part. You've already taken the first steps.
What Juliet said. I'm sorry, too. I didn't mean to keep you out of our conversation.
No, it's okay. I was busy thinking anyway. I can't stop looking for my person, of course, but maybe I can do more than that too.
We'll help you in any ways that we can.
Aspen nods in agreement, but then checks the time and sighs.
It'll have to wait until later though, because I need to be leaving for work. I'm sure Juliet needs her rest too.
Thanks. I am rather tired. Will you be alright on your own for the day, Miho?
Yeah, I should be. I'll figure out something to do.
Wonderful. Here, let me take those.
She gets up and collects the dirty plates, then carries them to the sink.
Tomorrow I have to go in earlier than usual to open. If you come by, I can make you that drink again, Miho. As long as you promise not to run away, that is.
Sure. Don't worry. I'm not going anywhere this time. Although... will it still be at home?
At home?
Like... free.
Oh, on the house! Yes, of course! This should probably be the last time, though, or my boss will start getting upset.
Aw, okay. It was nice while it lasted.
Aspen pauses as she rises from the table and starts to leave.
You know, getting a job might be a good idea if you're serious about living a normal life. It's hardly the most fun, but then you could buy as many fairy kiss chillers as you want.
Wow, they must pay really well in Wellington.
A job? Sounds like a pain.
Aspen just sighs as I sink into my seat. The way she talks about having a job makes it sound so awful.
Well, it's just a suggestion. See you later, Juliet. Miho.
With that, she takes her leave as Juliet and I wave her off. After the distant sound of Juliet shutting her bedroom door, the whole library is silent, leaving me alone with my thoughts in the kitchen. The front doors are unlocked and open to everyone, so it's just a matter of time until the first guests arrive.
Well... what do I do now?
The empty room doesn't have an answer. Right about now, I'd usually be scrounging for breakfast, or scoping out a new place, or maybe even planning where I'll spend the night. The full belly and a bed to come back to, I don't have to worry about any of that. Instead, I have a lot of free time on my hands.
Guess I'll explore.
It's how I've been spending a lot of my time recently anyways, and while Juliet and Aspen seem fine so far, it's still a little tiring to be around people so much. Having some alone time is important too. Making my way into town, I try to pay more attention to what other people are doing, instead of searching for opportunities. I meant what I said about wanting to be more of a person, but small steps are easier for me. If there's one thing I'm good at, it's observing. Of course, I'll also be keeping an eye out for anything that can help me find my person, but I have to admit I don't have much of a plan for that. Usually when I go to a new country or city, I'll try to find someone who might know them, or recognizes my scroll. I usually prefer asking other fabled. They're easier to deal with than humans. It's not a very efficient plan, if I'm being honest. I'd have to get really lucky for it to work. Haven't come up with any better ideas. Now that Aspen and Juliet have offered to help, maybe they'll be able to think of something new. For now, I'm just killing time. Take it slow, passing through the city, and even pop into some stores along the way. One is full of musical instruments, while right next door is a store that sells kitchen utensils. Across the street, there's another place with racks full of used clothes. I step in each store and pace around the aisles, just browsing. Usually I'd never come into these kinds of shops. Even though they have some expensive stuff, it's all bulky and hard to carry. Plus, I've learned the hard way that some pawn shops and buyers are good at guessing when something's stolen. Now that I'm paying more attention to what's for sale, I realize I don't even know what a lot of this stuff does. In the kitchen store, there's normal pots and pans and dishes, which makes sense. There's also a bunch of different gadgets with all kinds of shapes and sizes. I can't even guess what you'd use some of them for. The music store, I recognize a few instruments, like guitars and pianos and drums. There's also a bunch that I've seen before, but don't know the names of. Mostly the kinds you play with your mouth. And there's some that I've never seen, and can't be sure are even instruments and not some other kind of device. I seem to be the only one having this problem. In both stores, the other customers I've seen all walk around like they know what they're doing, or at least are looking for something in particular. Try to listen in on a conversation that someone's having with a salesperson, just like listening to Aspen and Juliet talk. I don't recognize half the words. In the end, I don't spend long in either store.
This is already harder than I thought.
Nearby, there's a clock outside one of the stores and informs me it's only been an hour or so since I left the library. There's still a long time before Juliet will be up. Guess I'll keep looking around. Though I'm not expecting much, I continue to browse through most of the shops I pass, just for something to do. Think about going by to the Bell House and saying hello to Aspen. When I get there, there's a line out the door around the building. Peeking through the window, I don't even see her. Instead, someone else is taking orders at the counter. I don't feel like waiting, so I keep walking instead. That was a weird, transition there. I end up walking for as long as I can stand it. Past the Skyport and beach, past Mount Victoria, back towards town yet again. When it eventually gets too boring even for me, I head back to the library. It's much busier now than when I left. There's a pile of books on the desk that people brought back. The checkout shelf is half full. Some of the chairs are occupied, and at least a dozen people are browsing the shelves. None of them pay me any mind, even when I grab a snack from the kitchen and then head up to my room. And there, I do the only thing there is to do. Flop on my bed and look up at the ceiling. Don't get me wrong, I'm glad to have a bed to do that in, but it doesn't help much right now.
So I can be bored outside or bored inside?
In my normal life, I'm usually too busy to be bored. Having time to rest and relax can be a luxury. Now I've got more time than I know what to do with. I hadn't even realized this would be a problem.
Guess all I can do is wait for Juliet.
Hopefully she'll have some ideas. I get the feeling she could give advice on anything.
May as well get comfy.
Yawning, I get under the covers and then transform into a fox. The soft pillow under my head and the cozy blanket above me. It's a lot like being in a very comfortable den. And after all the walking I did, a nap does sound pretty nice. If I'm lucky, I won't wake up until Juliet does. Wrapping my tail around my face, I close my eyes and eventually drift off to sleep. It's almost dark out when I finally open my eyes. Just like this morning, it takes a second for me to remember where I am, burrow my way out of the blankets, and then retake my human form, rubbing the sleepiness from my eyes.
That nap worked better than I expected.
Hopefully Juliet will be awake by now. If she isn't, I don't know what I'll do. There's no way I'm falling back asleep anytime soon. Unlike this morning when I passed by Juliet's office, there's no light from under the door. I do catch the sound of something going on in the kitchen, so I make my way downstairs. In the kitchen, I'm treated to quite the sight.
Good evening, Miho. I'll be with you in just a moment.
It's not just Juliet in the kitchen, but 3 bats as well. One clings to the back of the chair Aspen sat in this morning. Others on top of the fridge. Third one is perched on Juliet's shoulder. I think it's the same one I saw in her office. Juliet's holding a small bag and handing out the contents to different bats. On closer inspection, I realize that they're bugs. All the bats devour them greedily, including the one nibbling by Juliet's ear. She doesn't seem too bothered and hands them each another treat.
All right, here are the last ones.
The bats on the chair and fridge finish their snacks and fly over my head and out of the kitchen. Their wings nearly clip me in the face, and the gust they create blows my hair around. Last one stays on Juliet's shoulder even after it's finished eating, and Juliet picks up a small envelope from the counter and ties it to one of the bat's legs.
Thank you, Orpheus. We'll see you soon.
Launching itself off Juliet's shoulder, Orpheus takes flight and exits through one of the library windows. Even though he is much bigger than the other bats, it doesn't look like Juliet was fazed by being used as a launch pad.
My apologies, Miho. You caught me just at dinner time for the bats.
It's okay. I just woke up.
Oh? I take it you had a busy day then?
Well, not really. Just walked around for a while and then took a nap because didn't know what else to do.
I see. I'm sorry to have left you on your own all day. I should have made sure you were taken care of before I went to sleep.
She sure does apologize a lot. Is that what it means to be polite? It makes me kind of uncomfortable. It's not like she did anything wrong.
What are some of your hobbies? There are all manner of things tucked away in this room. All that throughout the library.
Hobbies? I don't think I know that word.
Something you do for fun, just because you enjoy it.
Oh! but I don't really have anything like that.
Although she raises her eyebrows, Juliet just nods. I'm guessing that wasn't an answer that she was expecting.
I think I understand. Well, perhaps that should be our first order of business. I believe you'd find your life much enriched with something amusing to do.
Okay. Like what?
She ponders for a moment, tapping the countertop beside her.
It could be anything. A sport, an art, or even something like watching television. Whatever brings you joy.
Pretty sure I've never tried any of those.
Then, it seems we have plenty of options to start with. I know you've done a lot of walking today already, but I need to go into town to run some errands. Would you be interested in accompanying me? Maybe we'll see something along the way that strikes your fancy.
Sure. Fine by me. Not like I've got anything better to do.
With a smile, Juliet gathers up some more papers and envelopes from the table and tucks them under her arm.
Let's be off then.
Leaving the library unlocked, we set off down the familiar path. Juliet maintains a brisk pace, but isn't too fast. I like this a lot more than going slow.
So, Miho, how are you enjoying Wellington itself so far?
I like it. It's not too big and it's not too small. Like that there's the ocean and mountains close by.
Yes, we're truly fortunate to live in such a paradise.
How'd you end up here in the first place? You said you came from the underworld, right?
That's correct. Ugh, I was much wilder and irresponsible in those days. But then, I met someone who changed my life. Someone who made me want to be a better person. And part of that meant reinventing myself, with a new life in a new place. Rather like what you've been doing too.
Huh. I can't picture you being crazy like you said.
That's something of a relief, but it was certainly true at the time. Sometimes, it does feel as if I was an entirely different person back then. It can be difficult to reconcile who we were with who we are, or want to be.
Doesn't seem like you had too much trouble with it.
I wouldn't say that. For one, this was very long ago. And even now, I continue to change. Everyone does. Perhaps in a few hundred years, I'll look back on these days, and they'll also seem like someone else's life.
Maybe.
Not that I think Juliet is lying, but it seems to me like she's just being modest. I may not have known her for long, but if anything, she seems a little too perfect. It isn't late in the evening yet, so there are plenty of other people out and about too, or oot and aboot. Occasionally, someone will recognize and greet Juliet. She always gives them a friendly greeting in return. After walking in silence for a couple minutes, I clear my throat.
I've got a question.
What is it?
Do you always walk places?
As opposed to?
Flying. Can't you turn into a bat?
Oh, yes. I suppose I can. I do so only sparingly, though. I find that I appreciate life more as a human than as a bat.
Why? That's weird. Like being a fox a lot more. Being a human just feels clumsy. Your arms and legs are way too long and get in the way all the time.
What a problem to have.
I suppose that's true. It can be quite awkward at times. Or even embarrassing.
Yeah, exactly! I've never been embarrassed as a fox.
Give it time.
I understand. There are certainly downsides. I believe the good makes up for the bad, though. Some things are only possible as a human, or fabled.
Like what? I can't think of any, other than talking like this.
Like writing, for one thing, as our dear friend Aspen would surely mention. Or perhaps like dancing. Have you ever danced, Miho?
Nope, never. I don't get why people do it either. Don't tell me you like dancing. Is that your hobby?
I must confess that I do enjoy it. At times, that is. I wouldn't call it a hobby. But with the right person, at the right moment, it can be quite nice.
If you say so.
I find myself saying that a lot lately. Shaking and flopping your body around to music? It's not for me. I don't even know how they come up with this stuff. But I'm trying to remember to be polite, so I keep that part to myself.
So, on that note, I should have asked this earlier. Are there any hobbies that you have as a fox?
I never thought about it that way. But now that you mention it... Almost everything is better as a fox. The sun feels nicer on my fur than it does on my skin. Flowers smell better and more interesting when I sniff them. It's more... vivid.
I remember Aspen using that word and explaining what it means. Bet she'd be proud if she heard me use it.
You do make it sound lovely. But are those things you do for fun?
Well...
I almost say yes right away, but then I think about it for a second. I do love those things I mentioned, but maybe they don't fit what Juliet is asking.
I guess not. They feel good, but they're not fun.
That's still valuable too.
So far, we've been following the same path that I took earlier when I went into town. When we come to a crossroads, Juliet turns in the direction of a neighborhood instead of the city.
The first stop I need to make is down here. After that, we'll go look around and see if there's anything fun.
Alright, I'm just following you.
This is in the same neighborhood where I hid from Juliet a couple nights ago, although it's pretty similar. Some of these houses are the sort that remind me of Bugs when I first arrived in Wellington. We stop at one of them, the little one-story house with the porch light on. I follow Juliet to the front door and she rings the doorbell.
Is this for one of your errands?
Yes, we're delivering those papers that were requested.
She straightens out the 2 yellow packets she was carrying. Door opens and a young woman carrying a baby stands behind it.
Oh, Miss Juliet! So good to see you!
With one of her trademark smiles, Juliet hands over the papers and the two chat for a bit. I lean against the wall, not involved or listening. When talking to the lady, Juliet used the same warm tone and softness as when she's talking to me and Aspen. In fact, if I close my eyes, I can almost pretend that I'm back at the breakfast table with both of them, listening to them go on about books. Eventually, the woman takes the folder, and after saying goodbye several times, we leave. As soon as we're off her property, I turn to Juliet.
What was that all about?
I suppose you could call it another one of my hobbies. Sometimes, patrons have requests for information on their ancestors, or a piece of history that they'd like to learn about. For example, Mrs. Aliyu wanted to know about her husband's culture so she could teach her new child. I find and collect what's requested, and bring it to those who asked.
Whoa! Sounds like a lot of work.
It can be, but I don't mind it. The past is worth preserving, but not everyone knows how. It's my honor to help people do so. I have assistants too, such as dear Orpheus, who is delivering a letter on the far side of town for me.
Are all the bats your helpers?
Some more than others. They're friends, not pets. And so if they don't feel like helping, then I won't force them.
To me, it sounds like a lot of trouble to go through for someone else, even with the bats helping out. But Juliet apparently likes being inconvenienced? It's the same as letting me stay in her library. Still, that sounds like it could be really helpful in my own search for the traveler. As Juliet leads us to our next destination, we leave the residential area and go back towards the city. I try to keep my eyes peeled for anything interesting. There are plenty of people sitting out at tables having a meal or walking around the shops, but nothing out of the ordinary. In fact, it's not that much different from when I was here earlier. There are more fabled and fewer humans, but there's still plenty of those too. Some of the places I pass by are closed now, but some, like the music store, are still open. We come to a big building with lots of posters on the walls, and outside we stop.
This is one of our movie theaters. They show all the most popular films, as well as independent ones from local creators. Have you ever been to see a movie before?
Not in a place like this. I know what movies are, but I don't think I've ever watched one.
You should try it sometime. Maybe you'll find you like them. Movies can make you feel all kinds of different things. Happy, sad, scared, or just amused. Some are good for making you think, and some are good because you don't have to think about anything and can just relax.
Why would I want to watch something that makes me sad or scares me?
For some, it's fun to explore different emotions in a safe environment like that. When we see something that makes us feel strongly, it can stick with you. Perhaps cause you to view things in a different light. And if it ever becomes too much, you can simply stop watching or put on something else.
I'll try it sometime. Although, I don't know about the sad or scary ones.
There's nothing wrong with that. Everyone has different preferences.
Along the way, Juliet continues to point out different shops and locations she thinks I should know about, like another library or museum. I'm not very interested in either of those things, but I smile and nod and pretend like I am. After a while, we leave the city behind and reach the waterfront, just like I usually do. The ocean looks much different at night, with the starlight and moonlight reflecting off the water. Far out at sea, there are a few lights that must come from boats, and sometimes lights in the sky from passing airships. We head down a small path to the boardwalk, where we look out onto the water. There are a few empty buckets sitting on the ground nearby, as well as some folding chairs. I point them out.
What are those for?
People like to fish off at this pier. They come at all hours, but I believe this spot is used for teaching lessons during the day.
Ooh, lessons on how to catch fish?
That's correct. Is that something you're interested in?
Maybe. It's one of those things that I like doing as a fox, but I don't know if I'd like doing it the human way.
Should you decide you'd like to try, I'm sure there would be someone here who's happy to instruct you.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't want to commit to anything, but it couldn't hurt to come check out this place during the day.
I'm glad you found something that struck your fancy. Is there anywhere else you'd like to visit while we're out, or should we return home?
Nah, I'm ready to head back. Is there anything for dinner?
I'm sure we can put something together.
So I don't think the game ever addresses this, or if it does, I can't remember. Vampires traditionally cannot taste, from what I remember. At least in like most vampire mythos, they like once you become undead, you don't taste anything. You just taste ash. But Juliet's a good cook, so I guess she can taste. Maybe it's different. I don't know. Food for thought. Or not, if you can't taste.
Then let's go.
Since I actually know where we are now, I lead the way home, with Juliet close behind me. It's another chilly morning in Wellington. I'm outside the Bell House, waiting for Aspen.
People are gonna think I'm staking this place out. And for once, that isn't true.
It's after breakfast, but before the sun's up. Aspen invited me for a free drink before they open, but I'm starting to think I've been duped.
Anytime now.
I rub my arms and bounce around to try to stay warm. Right as I'm thinking about picking the lock myself, the front door swings open and Aspen waves me inside.
So anyway, like I was saying, my uncle taught me this trick to make it taste better. You put a little bit of salt in the coffee and it brings out the flavor, right? Not too much. You don't want to make it salty, but just a little bit.
Sorry about that. I got a little held up.
I was thinking maybe you forgot about me after all.
No, you're not rid of me that easily. I was just...
I tried it and it's really good. Have you tried it? Remind me, I'll make you one. So then I was thinking, if I start doing that every time I make a drink, eventually people will start realizing that their coffee's better when I make it, but they won't know why.
I'm gonna scooch my model over just a wee bit here. So we're kind of out of the way. Obviously I can just hide it when it's completely in the way, but have it in that corner ever so slightly more.
Talking to Lena. That can always take longer than you expect or plan for. But she and I often look the other way for each other on certain things. Such as letting you in before the store opens, for instance.
Oh, am I not supposed to be here? That's cool!
As long as we open on time, it's fine, and Lena and I are the two fastest. You kind of have to be when she's involved.
What do you mean?
I'm sure you'll see. Come on, what do you want today?
I inspect the menu. It's as unhelpful as ever.
Here's a paper copy, if that's easier to read.
She hands me a little printout menu. It's also distinctly lacking in pictures.
Sorry, can't read it.
Oh, do you need a Korean version? I'm afraid we don't have one.
Oh, nah. Can't read any languages.
I may as well have told her that the sky is green. Aspen stares at me in clear disbelief. This isn't the usual weird look. This is beyond that. She laughs nervously.
You're joking, right?
I shake my head. She collapses onto a stool behind her, fanning her face with the menu in her hand.
I can't believe it. I just can't. So you haven't. Wow.
I can tell she really wants to say more, but holds herself back.
I suppose that explains a lot. Still, I just can't imagine.
It takes a moment, but she regains her composure.
Anyway, if you want to try something new, then how about our ambrosia latte? It's one of our seasonal beverages with apple and caramel.
She says caramel. That's how you know she's fancy and cultured, not caramel. What about the potato-potato debate? What's taters, precious? No.
Apples and coffee.
We'll get to that later.
I've never had that before.
Yes, well, we're experimenting with the recipe still.
I said that we should try adding more cinnamon to it.
Lena's such a fun character. I don't even know where Lena comes from. Suddenly she's just there.
Aspen said it would overwhelm the other flavors, but I add extra whenever I make one, and so far no one's complained.
Lena, are you serious?
Well, yeah. How else are we gonna find out which one's better? I'll make one for your friend too, and she can tell us which one she likes more.
Lena?
The other girl hurries back to the kitchen, clearly not caring about what Aspen was about to say. Aspen sighs and shakes her head.
Right, well, I have to open the registers and put on the coffee. I'll have your drink in a couple minutes.
Okay, thanks.
I hop on one of the tall stools and wait, swinging my legs back and forth. Before long, the cafe fills with the smell of warm coffee and baking bread. It's enough to make my mouth water, even though it hasn't been that long since I last ate. Aspen roams between the kitchen and the front area, always looking very busy. She checks and inspects what seems like every drawer and cabinet in the place while getting ready. Lena's busy too, mopping and setting up chairs. At some point she put earphones in and her music is loud enough for me to be able to hear it from across the building. After a while, Aspen returns to my table, along with a steaming paper cup.
Here you go, one ambrosia latte.
I pop the lid off so I can take a peek at the drink itself. It smells light and fruity, with a swirl of caramel syrup melting into the coffee and whipped cream.
Looks good.
Hopefully it tastes good too.
I have a teeny little sip, since it's been too hot to drink very fast. The tartness of the apple actually goes pretty well with the coffee flavor.
It's a little sour, but it's not bad. Not as good as a fairy kiss chiller, though.
Well, I can't complain about that.
The chair squeaks against the floor as Aspen sits down across from me.
So, have you decided how you're going to spend your day?
Not yet. What about you?
There's still another 7.5 hours left on my shift, so I'll be here for quite a while.
Big mood, Aspen, big mood.
After work, I try to have a social life or get some writing done. Although lately I usually just collapse on the bed and take a nap.
Hey, me too! Without a bed, though.
Yes, well, I'm sure frolicking through the flowers and chasing rabbits gets tiring.
Ooh, are there rabbits around here?
Not for long, I imagine. Speaking of which, have you thought about what I said yesterday? About getting a job? It seems you have more than enough time on your hands. You do know what a job is, right?
More or less. I mean, I've seen people at work before, but I've never had my own job before you ask.
Yes, I'm aware. Anyway, you'd have money to buy things you want, and you wouldn't have to steal to get it.
What do I need money for, though? Juliet lets me sleep at her house, and she even gives me food.
I don't mean to sound rude or anything, but Juliet can't take care of you forever, you know?
I know.
Right now I'm still getting used to even living here. I haven't given any thought to what might happen later on.
I don't even know what kind of job I could get. Is there some place that would hire me to steal things?
Not legally, no. But maybe you can find a way to use those skills. Maybe you could be a security guard somewhere, or a locksmith.
Maybe. What exactly is your job, anyway?
Well, as you know, I'm a barista. That means I make coffee and tea and hot chocolate and whatever else our customers ask for. Some people rely on our products just to get through their day, so I consider it to be a very important job. If we were to close or go out of business, there would be a great many people who would be distraught over it.
Wow! And you're gonna do this for the rest of your life?
Not for that long, I hope. It's not my passion by any means, but I don't mind it. It can be rather exhausting, though, especially on busy days.
I can't say she's selling me on this whole job idea.
What is your passion?
It's this.
Like she was waiting for me to ask, Aspen dramatically pulls out a small notebook and puts it on the table. It's the one that I see her writing in all the time. I lean forward to look at it closely. It's not very big, about the size of my hand, and it's mostly purple in color. There's an intricate gold pattern around the border. It definitely looks fancy. I could probably get a lot of money for this at the right store.
This is my writing notebook. One of them, at least. My passion is writing, bringing stories and characters to life, making people feel what I feel. There's nothing quite like it. So challenging, yet rewarding. It's both my favorite activity and also the most frustrating one. This notebook is full of story ideas, lines that I come up with, or other interesting details. One of the best parts of working here at the Bell House is that I get to meet so many interesting and inspiring people. For example, when you first came in, I wrote a brief note about you. I never imagined that just a few days later we'd be having this conversation.
Trust me, I didn't either. What did you write about me?
For some reason, Aspen's face gets a little red.
I don't remember, just that I wrote something. It's in another notebook, not this one. My dream is that someday I'll be able to make a living from my writing. In fact, when I moved to Wellington a couple of years ago, that was supposed to be the first step. It's been taking longer than I'd like so far. Every morning when I wake up, I tell myself that I'm not going to sleep that night until I finish at least a chapter. But then by the time I'm done with work, all I want to do is pass out. Of course, that just puts me further and further behind. I've really only myself to blame, I suppose, but life doesn't make it easy for me.
Sighing, Aspen puts her notebook away once more while I sip my drink.
Saying it like that, I can't fault you for not wanting to get a job. I'm only here because I need some way to pay the bills. That's just the life of a starving artist for you.
Did someone say job? Are you getting a job here? Is this an interview?
From out of nowhere, Lena appears with a cup in her hands.
No, Miho's just a friend. And were you eavesdropping on us?
It's not eavesdropping if you're in public. You should learn to talk quieter if you don't want people to hear you. Like me.
Tell me you're joking.
About what?
Before Aspen can even answer, Lena turns her face to me instead.
Anyway, that's too bad. We could definitely use the help. Hey, why not apply here if you're looking for work? I bet Aspen would put in a good word for you, right? I could do it too. It'd kind of be lying, I guess, since I don't know you that well, but you seem like an alright person. I mean, if Aspen trusts you, you have to be okay, I think. I can go get you an application right now if you want. I printed out a whole stack of them yesterday. Actually, it's the second stack, because the first one jammed up the printer and...
Lena, I am begging you to please be normal.
What? Tell me why it's a bad idea. Do you not think... What's your name again?
Miho.
Do you not think Miho could do it?
No, it's not that. I'm sure she'd do great. It's just...
Wait, that sounds fun. Would I get to work with you?
Yeah, we'd work together. Oh, you meant Aspen, didn't you? Yeah, she'd be there too.
Slapping her hands on the desk, Aspen stands up from the table.
It's certainly an idea. Perhaps one we should discuss later. Lena, you and I should be getting to work, don't you think?
Okay, boss.
Please just go unlock the door.
Okay.
Smirking, Lena heads towards the front of the store.
Feel free to hang out for a bit if you'd like, Miho. Although it's going to get busy soon, so I won't...
Oh, wait, I almost forgot. If you need something to do, come play tennis with me this afternoon.
Tennis?
Yeah, you know, you hit the ball back and forth over the net.
I know what it is. Is that your hobby?
For now, I like trying new things.
I'll think about it. I should try something new myself, too.
I wasn't asking. Anyway, you said it yourself. You're totally coming. So, I'll see you there.
Okay.
I can't help but feel I've been roped into something here. But it's true that I should at least give it a shot. Maybe it'll turn out to like it more than I expect.
Cool.
Lena starts to leave again, but then suddenly jumps back around to face me again.
Oh, right. There's one more thing.
How many more things does she have? I can practically feel Aspen's exasperation as Lena runs back and slams the cup she was carrying onto the table in front of me.
Try this. Tell me which one you like more. The one I made or the one Aspen made.
Okay.
With an unnecessarily long sigh, Aspen goes and unlocks the front door herself. I'm over halfway done with Aspen's drink, but I take another gulp, paying attention to the mix of flavors. Then I do the same with Lena's. Lena watches eagerly, fists clenched in excitement.
So, what you think? Come on, be honest.
I can't taste a single difference.
They're both good.
Sure, but which one's better?
Take another sip of each. I try to detect anything that's different between them, but can't. Fortunately, Aspen saves me. She looms behind Lena like a phantom.
Lena, don't you think maybe you should go check the croissants?
Nah, I
already looked at them earlier. A couple of them were kind of schoolish, but I tried to massage them back into shape.
Don't worry.
For once, Lena's the one cut off as Aspen jerks on her apron strings and she flaps her wings to maintain her balance.
Why don't you go check on them again? Or maybe the muffins, if you haven't yet.
Fine. We all know Miho just didn't want to hurt your feelings anyway.
Aspen releases her, and Lena walks off to the back of the cafe like an embarrassed cat, pretending it was her idea all along. She disappears into the kitchen. Aspen sighs yet again.
I'm sorry about that.
It's fine. She seems nice.
That is certainly one way you could describe her. What I was trying to say earlier is that you can stay here if you want, but I won't be able to chat. Our first customers will be here any minute now.
That's okay. I'll probably go back to the library once I finish my drinks.
All right, I'll see you later then. And don't feel obligated to finish both if you don't want to.
I'm gonna try. Bye!
Like Lena, Aspen also retreats behind the counter and starts filling the display case with pastries. Wonder if any of them are the croissants Lena was talking about. Sure enough, it isn't long before the first customers start to show up. Aspen takes their orders with that fake nice voice she used when we first met. I've already gotten more used to hearing her regular voice instead, though. It's interesting to know that even normal humans like her still pretend to be other people sometimes. Wonder why she feels she has to do that. So far, she's one of the nicest humans I've ever met. After I finish up my first coffee, I toss the cup away, but hold on to the second. I'll drink it later or something. Aspen waves as I leave the Bell House and start making my way back to the library. I've had my fill of wandering around for at least a few days. I'm gonna be bored, I might as well do it while I'm comfy. Job or not, Aspen is definitely right about one thing. I really need to find something better to do with my time. So, here we have all of the potential options and things that we can see and explore and do. Well, in this case, only the one. I believe there's one more that'll pop up at some point too. But yeah, based on this, we can kind of see where various things are here in Wellington. So I just want to leave this screen up for a bit. All of these are real places in Wellington. There isn't a Bell House cafe, but however, based on where it is on the map, you can kind of guess which cafe they're referring to. Obviously, Cuba Street is real. The waterfront, the bay, Mount Victoria. You can find the path that Miho takes up to the top of Mount Victoria on Google Maps, in fact. You can drag and drop, you can walk the whole thing and pick out pretty much where her den is. The only thing on here that's not real is, unfortunately, the library. There is some public libraries in Wellington. There does not appear to be one in this neighborhood. So, the Botanical Gardens is real as well. One of the big tourist spots there in Wellington too. So, anywho, we'll go to the park. To meet with Lena, we have to play tennis. After a few hours of sitting around the library, I'm bored enough to take Lena up on her offer to play tennis. The only problem is, I forgot to ask where and when. Sometime in the afternoon, I go down to the Bell House where an employee tells me both Aspen and Lena have left for the day. They give me directions to a place called Hada IT Park? I have no idea how to pronounce that. I'm terrible with my Maori pronunciations. Which is where they say Lena mentioned before heading out. I follow their instructions and reach a big open area full of people on bikes, walking, or just sitting on the grass. Walk around looking for any sight of Lena or people playing tennis. Finally, I spot the courts and make my way over. Of the dozen or so people who are playing, it isn't hard to find Lena when I get there.
Yeah! Nice serve!
She runs back and forth, leaping and diving to hit the little green ball before it can touch the ground. She flaps her wings to keep from falling over when she does. Her partner, a tall boy with antlers on his head, looks exhausted. When he swings his racket, it looks like his arm might fall off at any second. When I get close enough, Lena notices me and stops mid-dive. Now that she's distracted, her partner takes the opportunity to hurry away, collapsing under the grass to rest.
Sorry, I wasn't sure what time I should come by. Or where.
Oh, right. I guess I should have told you. In that case, good guess.
I don't bother telling her that I got help from one of her coworkers. Lena picks up a racket from nearby and offers it to me.
Ready to play?
I guess so. I don't really know the rules, though.
Nah, it's fine. Me either. Just try to hit the ball, alright?
Okay, I can do that.
I take my spot on the other side of the net, trying to imitate the way other people are standing.
Alright, here goes.
Lena drops the ball and knocks it towards me. I watch it carefully, and when it gets close enough, I swing. The ball goes soaring way over her head and falls into the grass out of sight somewhere.
Maybe a little less oomph next time. Let's try it again.
She serves the ball, and this time I just barely hit it over the net. Lena dives for it like before and sends it sailing back to me. The more we play, the easier it gets. Both of us miss the ball or knock it into the net a lot, but it's not too bad. Finally, even Lena gets tired, and we take a break to drink some water.
How long have you played tennis?
Like, today or in my life?
In your life?
She thinks about it a bit, scrunching up her nose.
About a week.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah, how about you?
About half an hour, I guess.
Oh, right. I forgot about that. See? We're both trying new things.
The whole time we're talking, Lena keeps glancing away from me to watch the other players. I try to figure out what's so interesting, but can't.
Okay, break's over. Let's play some more.
We get back on the court and play for a little bit longer, until the end of the hour. As everyone else starts to pack up and leave, I follow Lena and puts away our equipment.
So, what'd you think? Did you have fun?
It was alright. I wouldn't mind doing it again, but I don't know if I'd want to play all the time. I can see why some people enjoy it at least.
Being outside is nice, and it was a good way to burn off some energy.
That's good.
Especially if you
Maybe
drink
a few
2
times a week if you wanna come
sugar-filled
back.
coffees.
Will you be here?
Not sure yet.
Even while cleaning up, she's still distracted by someone or something else. When the other players walk past us on their way out the park, Lena turns her head to watch one of them.
Ready, because we're planting trees here next time. Really exciting, right? If you want to help out, then come to me after.
I catch a snippet of the conversation as the person Lena's watching, a dryad, goes by. Lena must hear too, because she instantly closes her eyes and puts her fingers against the sides of her head.
Planting trees. Planting trees.
She repeats the words to herself a few times, then her eyes snap back open.
Okay, got it.
Got what?
What I'm doing next time. I'll have to start studying up tonight so that I'm ready.
Okay, if you say so.
I'm pretty lost, but maybe this is just how Lena is. So at this point I can give the spoiler that Lena is not one of the romance options, so... I mentioned that there was side stories throughout the game. Lena's is consistent. No matter what else you do, you will always get Lena's full story. But there's then other side stories that you get to pick and choose.
You should come too, if you're not doing anything. I'll tell Aspen to give you the details.
Sure, sounds good.
I'm not sure if I want to commit, especially since Lena probably won't even remember me the next time we see each other. But playing tennis wasn't so bad, so I should at least keep my options open.
Good. Alright, see you then, Miho.
See ya.
Waving goodbye, Lena heads off down one of the paths. I take a different one that leads me out of the park and back to the library for the rest of the day. With a tiny ding, the toast pops up, and I load it onto the plate with the other slices. Bring the dish over to the table.
Thank you, Miho. Go ahead and put it by the butter.
Oops, sorry. Let me get my bag out of your way.
Once the table is set, the three of us sit. I've gotten more used to the routine of breakfast, and now know how to do things like pass the salt and pepper without being asked. Every morning so far, we have the same thing, eggs and toast. But it's a lot tastier than convenience store food, and there's different spreads and fruits to change things up. Like usual, I'm the first one to finish eating, followed by Aspen, who stretches with a content sigh.
Breakfast was as superb as always. Thank you, Juliet.
It's my pleasure.
Two of them saying this is part of the routine too. Usually Aspen will be getting up right now to leave for work. Oh my god, I can't read. Just like Miho. Except this time she doesn't.
Don't you need to go, Aspen?
Is this your way of trying to get rid of me?
She peers at me from over the rim of her cup as she sips her coffee.
Nah, I haven't thought about that. I was just wondering.
I'm not sure if I should be flattered. Anyway, I'm working a mid-shift today, so I don't have to go in until noon.
Will you be writing then?
Yes, I ought to. I'm about halfway through this draft, and I'm trying to finish it by the end of this month, so every minute helps.
Oh my, halfway already? That's excellent progress. I look forward to reading it when you're finished.
Don't give me too much credit, I still have to get there first, and you know how that's gone before.
All you can do is keep trying.
What are you writing?
A book. I've been working on it for a couple of years now, as long as I've been in Wellington.
Whoa, you're only halfway done? How long is it gonna be?
Only halfway! I wish it was as easy as you think it is. It takes time to plan the story and prepare to write, and then, even after the drafting is done, you still have to edit it and fix it. Of course, the more you write, the better you become at it. And so, sometimes you notice flaws in your story that you didn't catch before, so you have to go back or start over.
How do you ever get anything done then if you're always getting better? Don't you just have to finish it eventually?
Well, like I said, it's not that simple.
Aspen clears her throat.
Anyway, it's difficult to explain to someone who's never written anything. Believe me, any writer would tell you the same thing.
I glance over at Juliet, who's intently watching her tea as she stirs it.
And you? Did you end up finding something to fill your time?
Oh, like a hobby. Maybe. I don't know yet.
Well, don't worry about it too much. It's supposed to be fun, not something you have to force yourself to do. Although I'm hardly one to talk. There are times where I want to do anything except write.
It's okay. At least you have something. Julia told me about movies, so I might try watching one of those. Have you ever seen a movie?
Once or twice, I'm sure.
Actually, Miho, there was something I wanted to ask you.
What's that?
Well, how would you feel about helping out around the library as a part-time job? I'll pay you for your time, of course. It would give you something to do during the day, and it would be a great help to me.
Really? But I thought you didn't need any help running the library.
It's true that I don't need it. The honor system has served me well for the day-to-day services, and I'm kept informed of any troublemakers. But in addition to the kind assistance from Aspen in the mornings, I also have to reshelve books, maintain the check-in and check-out logs, and more. I don't mind those tasks at all. In fact, I find them rather relaxing. But without them, I'd be able to devote more time to other pursuits. If you're uninterested, you're more than welcome to decline. You needn't worry about being kicked out or disappointing me. I'm perfectly content either way.
Drinking during that. There's a lot more dialogue in some chapters than others, so I get more of a break, but still good to hydrate. Anyway, helping around about here doesn't seem bad at all. It doesn't sound very exciting either, but it's not like I found anything else I'd rather do instead. At least it's comfy in the library, and super convenient. Having some money again would be nice too. Be even better that there's no one trying to take it back.
do it.
Juliet looks a little taken aback.
That was fast. Are you quite sure?
Yeah, I'll try it at least.
Of course. If you find it's not for you, then I won't be upset. Why don't you take the rest of the week for yourself, and you can begin on Monday?
Okay, that sounds good to me.
Excellent. I'll be looking forward to it then.
The two of them chat a little bit longer before Aspen leaves to go right and Juliet goes to bed. I stay mostly quiet, thinking to myself, a job. That's something I never envisioned having. I figured I'd just keep stealing until... Till what? Exactly. I'm not too sure. Until I find my person, I guess. That goal has been all I've focused on for my entire life, but now, spending time here in Wellington is actually making me plan things out in advance. When I stop to think about the future, it's a lot of emptiness and mystery. It makes me realize just how little I have to fall back on. That's why doing all these normal things like getting a job could be good for me. I don't know what might be useful someday. As for my person, I'm still always thinking about them and how I can find them. That part hasn't changed. For now, I'll just go with the flow and see where it takes me. So here we get actual choices. So some of these, when it just has the stopwatch, well, I guess pocket watch more so. Pocket watch, it's just passing time. Literally nothing is happening. Or we can go to actual events and things. So this is where we get to the other choices here, rather. So we can see there where the Bell House is. It's on the corner of Cuba Street, supposedly. I'm trying to think how I can say this without being too spoiler-filled. Because again, we're only going to cover one major story path, and then one of these side paths. And we're going to do the one with the old man in the sea. We'll just put it that way. Each of these side paths tells a complete story, and it ties wonderfully back into the main narrative. And each one, the themes that it covers deal more with certain things than others, I guess is the way to put it. Yeah, that sounds right. So anyway, for this this playthrough, this stream of this game, we are going to be dealing with the old man in the sea. So, not that this one's not good. I did this one the first time. It's excellent. And then when I played the other route, I did this. I think this one is going to work well for what we're doing, though. So, and also just the old guy's kind of a fun character. So, just to be sure, though, in case. Where's the quick save? Do a full save. Right. Is it? Okay, whatever. I guess it did find out. While trying to think of something to do, I suddenly remember the fishing lessons that Juliet told me about. I'm already pretty good at fishing as a fox, but it does have its downsides, like having to get all wet and ending up with scales in my teeth. I know some people go fishing for fun, so maybe I'd like it too. At the very least, it could be useful to know someday. Besides, it's not like I've got anything better to do. Down at the waterfront, there's a big crowd like always. The merchant booths that Juliet pointed to me have long lines and clusters of people in front of them. Right along the water, there are fishermen selling all kinds of fresh fish. The smell, mixed with the salty sea air, is making me hungry. I wander over to the spot that Juliet pointed out to me. Today, there's half a dozen people with fishing rods in their hands, lines out in the water. They're all spaced apart, and behind them is a man who's giving instructions.
Hold on. Don't I know him?
I look closer. And sure enough, it's the man I met on the mountain not too long ago who taught me what a kiwi is. He paces between the people fishing, adjusting their postures and giving them advice. There's another person helping him out, a younger guy who's untangling lines and prepping supplies. One of the fishermen waves at the instructor for help.
Hey, Mr. Kim, can you give me a hand?
With a voice like that, there's no way you are not an experienced fisherman, sir. What are you doing with these lessons? That is straight up, oh god, what's the brand? It's the old man in the very cliched yellow, Gordon's Fisherman.
Coming!
Mr. Kim practically skips over and shows the person how to send out their line.
I need some help too. Well, which bait should I use?
That depends on the fish. Let's take a look.
He bounces around between the group before he spots me and gives me a hearty wave.
Hello there, miss. Here for a bit of fishing?
I was thinking about it.
You've certainly come to the right place. First time fishing?
With a rod, at least. I usually do it with my teeth.
Oh, I can't say I've ever tried that myself, but if you'd like to learn how to do things our way, I'd be glad to show you.
Sure, why not? I came all this way.
Obviously, Mr. Kim met her several days ago, just the once, and so he has completely forgotten about her.
That's the spirit. Here, why don't you go ahead and stand here?
I take a spot on the pier and face the water. Mr. Kim goes through how to hold the rod, how to put the bait on the hook, and finally how to cast. Fireball. Once he's done explaining, he steps back to give me some space.
All right, now let's see what you've got.
Right, so I stand like this and put my hand here.
I do my best to copy everything he showed me, and then with a flick of my wrists, I cast my line out to the sea.
Perfect! Nice job. Oh, I forgot to ask for your name.
Miho.
Nice job, Miho. Keep it up and you'll be a master angler in no time.
How long does it take to catch one?
Well, now that depends on the fish. It could be minutes or it could be hours. I've been after the same fish for years.
Whoa, don't you ever go home?
He laughs, and I'm reminded of the first time we met, up on the mountain.
I certainly do. But I always come back. Patience is the most important virtue, other than maybe a bit of luck.
Mr. Kim goes to check on the others while I stand there, waiting. It doesn't seem like anyone else is getting a bite, so at least it's not just me. Suddenly, one of the other fishers yells with excitement.
I got one! I got one!
They frantically start to reel in their catch. All of us gather around to watch. I think that fisher person was voiced by Miho's voice actress.
Steady, steady.
Tell just a little bit in the voice. They plant their feet firmly, reeling with all their strength, but it's clear that the fish is fighting back.
Can you help?
Of course.
Oh, actually, never mind. I know who this is. This is a character that cameos in some other Studio Élan titles as well, and is voiced by GotY the whole time. So, Miho's voice actress. Mr. Kim also grabs the rod, and together, the two of them manage to land their catch. Everyone, including myself, gasps as a fish breaks through the surface, its red scales shining in the sunlight. Mr. Kim lets go so the fisher can admire their prize.
Whoa! And isn't she beautiful? Congratulations.
My stomach rumbles just from watching. Unfortunately, after a few more minutes of waiting for my own fish, I still don't get any bites. Hundreds of years old and no patience. Finally, it's time to pack up and head home. Mr. Kim catches me before I can leave the pier.
So, what'd you think, Miho? Does it beat the ways you've gone fishing before?
It was okay. I didn't catch anything in the end. But it was cool to watch you and that other person get one.
It's like that sometimes. You just have to keep trying. I hope we'll see you around again sometime.
Yeah, maybe. Thanks for showing me all that stuff.
In the end, it was a lot of just standing around. What he said about needing patience makes sense, but if I'm looking for something fun to do, then I'm not sure if this was exciting enough. But it was kind of relaxing, and I still do think it would be useful to learn. Either way, I'm glad I came and checked this place out. Now to go see if Juliet keeps any seafood in the fridge at the library. Once we finish eating breakfast, Juliet drums her fingers on the table, looking thoughtful.
Miho, it occurred to me that perhaps I should give you the proper tour of the library now. That way, you have the weekend to get better acquainted with it if you need.
Tour? I think I've seen everything, right?
Pardon. I meant of the books themselves. Where to find each genre and what they are.
Oh, right. Sure.
What the? Oh, that's interesting. I hit the scroll wheel and it automatically brought me to the log. Huh. I just bumped it. Anyway, I hadn't really thought about the books. To me, they're all the same, but I guess that wouldn't be true for everyone else. Right now, I have the place memorized in the same way you'd memorize a battlefield. What places are out of sight, how to get in and out, and anything else that might be useful. I don't think there are many battles that happen in here, so Juliet's tour would probably be more useful. Little do you know.
If you'd like, I can show you a couple of my favorite books. That way, if anyone asks for a recommendation, you could at least make something up.
That'd be great.
Anything that makes it easier for me to make things up is fine by me. The three of us head to the entrance.
Let's start with the basics, shall we? As you know, this is the reference desk. It's where books are checked in and out, and where anyone who needs help can find it.
What kind of help do people ask for?
Usually, they need assistance finding a specific book. Or perhaps they need a recommendation for what to read next, as Aspen mentioned.
Hope they like the same books as her then.
Don't worry, I'll think of some that are more popular. Not my real favorites, which most people would be too bored to finish.
Juliet leads us to the actual rows of shelves. I stare down the books as I pass by, committing as many details to memory as I can. Even if I can't read the words, I try to remember the colors and shapes and covers.
Over here is the children's section. It's got lots of picture books and beginner reader books. The shelves are shorter too, so that children can reach them more easily.
Oh, I've seen some of those around. Are adults allowed to read them too?
Nope, it's illegal.
Of course. Parents read to their kids quite often.
Some people read them for fun, too. You gain so much more appreciation for the illustrations once you're older.
We head over to another area.
This is the non-fiction section. It's for books about things that are true, rather than made-up stories.
I rarely visit this section, personally.
In a shady corner near Aspen's favorite table, Juliet taps a small sign hanging on one of the shelves.
This is the mystery section. Stories about detectives, murders, and other such subjects live here.
I do admire mystery writers. It's difficult to come up with a compelling one.
We go around the whole library like this, with Juliet and Aspen pointing out all the other sections. Finally, we come to a stop back at the desk where we started.
I do believe that's everything. Do you feel like you have a good understanding now?
It's hard to keep them all straight. Fantasy, history, cookbooks, biographies. I think I've got most of it, though.
By the end, my head feels like it's spinning and I know I won't be able to remember everything as hard as I try. But I do feel like I've gotten a better feeling for the place. At the very least, I could show someone where to find the restrooms.
It is a lot to take in. Don't worry if you can't memorize it all right away. There's plenty of time to learn.
Even I forget where things are sometimes, and I've spent more time here than at my own apartment.
Thanks! It might take me a while, but I'll get it eventually.
I know you will. I have the utmost confidence in you.
If I'm going to do this, I may as well try my best. Maybe something good will come from it, and if not, I can always just leave.
Want me to show you the books I was thinking of now?
Sure.
I'll be off to bed myself then. Have a lovely day, you two.
Sleep well.
Night!
Juliet heads upstairs while Aspen and I go back to the shelves.
To start with,
She leads the way to the fiction section, which is easy to remember since it's the biggest. Aspen runs a finger across the books as we move down an aisle. I see her scanning the titles before she stops and taps the spine of one.
here we are, Wuthering Heights.
I forgot that that was the first book she pulls. Oh boy. I just want to pause here and mention that I debated streaming Wuthering Waves, the newer gacha game that's very clearly heavily inspired by Genshin, and had some funny ideas for what I would title the stream of, like, you know, rolling for Heathcliff or something. But anyway, I digress. Fantastic book. Very good Kate Bush song as well.
I just returned this one recently after finishing my annual reread. It's a very tragic love story. The main character is rather terrible, I must confess, and there's an awful lot of death.
Yeah? Oh yeah.
But despite all that, it's beautiful.
The Bronte sisters certainly had a way with words. So that description definitely isn't what I was expecting.
People really like to read that stuff?
Oh, you'd be shocked.
Sometimes, yes. You read to experience all kinds of different feelings. Besides, I think there's a kind of sad beauty to doomed romances like that. It really does put life in perspective.
If you say so.
You don't have to take my word for it. I'm sure you'll see for yourself once you start working here. In the meantime...
I follow Aspen to the other side of the room, where there are a couple smaller racks of books near the corner.
Do you enjoy poetry?
You mean like vases and stuff? Guess they're okay.
It's like pottery, it rhymes.
That's pottery. Poetry is... prose. Words in their best order. Poetry, the best words in the best order. Samuel Coleridge said that. He was a poet, but he's not the one I have in mind. I'll show you what he meant.
The book she selects looks old, very old. It has a green cover that's rough like a lizard's skin, with the letters being faded gold.
Alfred Lord Tennyson is one of the most famous poets to have existed. I simply adore his work. Here, this is from The Lady of Shalott. Ahem.
She clears her throat again, even though it's only been a few seconds since the last time.
Willows whiten, aspens shiver. The sunbeam showers break and quiver. In the stream that runneth ever, by the island in the river, flowing down to Camelot.
I barely heard past the first line. Missing out, Miho, that's kind of a famous one.
Aspens! Like your name! Does it come from this poem?
If only. Aspens are a type of tree. Mum loves them. More than she likes poetry, for sure. I do wish I'd been named after it, though.
She reads the rest of it, which ends up being pretty long. It's kind of hard to follow, but imagining the fields and towers that she talks about is nice. In fact, I'm pretty sure I've been to Camelot before. Some of the details in the poem aren't quite right. Anyway, even if I don't understand the poem, it's nice to listen to Aspen reading it. Plus, there's no way I'll forget what that book looks like.
Alright, last one. I thought 3 would be enough to start, but you can always ask me for more recommendations if you need. I could suggest books until lunch, if I didn't stop myself.
I might someday. Even though I lived in the library for a few days now, I never really knew how many different books there were out there before.
Oh, you've no idea.
Oh, believe me, this library isn't even a fraction of what exists. It's not that big for a library, in fact, just huge for a personal collection, which is really what it is.
How many books have you read?
I couldn't even guess. Definitely hundreds. Maybe thousands? I've never tried counting, but perhaps I should now that you mention it. It would be nice to look back on someday. Okay, here we are.
The book she takes to me is laid flat out on the end table where more people can see it, rather than on the shelf.
Everyone knows the story of Peter Pan, the boy who never grows up and can fly.
Everyone except me.
Now you do too. Peter has a darling fairy friend named Tinkerbell, and he fights the dastardly pirate Captain Hook. Peter leads a group of boys called the Lost Boys, and they cause all sorts of trouble for Neverland, where they all live.
What do you mean he never grows up?
In Neverland, you never get older. So he stays a young boy for his whole life. Even when the girl he loves, Wendy, grows up and gets married, and someday dies.
You sure do like sad stories, huh?
I suppose I do. It's as Peter Pan himself says, to die would be an awfully big adventure. Still, it's not like I only like sad things. Romance is my favourite genre, and not just the tragic kind.
Sit down on one of the chairs, since it seems like Aspen wants to have a conversation. May as well get comfy. Aspen sits down too, fidgeting with the straps of her purse.
Why is it your favorite?
Why? Well,
Her hands stop moving while she thinks.
In a book, things can be much more perfect than in real life. A moonlit balcony all alone, or a sunset kiss on the seashore. Real life is considerably messier. I've never been in love before, although I think it sounds quite nice. As I said earlier, people read to feel things. So until that time, living vicariously through other stories is enough. What about you?
What about me?
Do you ever hope to fall in love? I assume you haven't been in love before, but maybe I'm wrong.
What a rude thing to say.
Nah, I haven't. I like being on my own.
Do you think maybe that would change if you met the right person?
I don't know. Maybe. I haven't thought about it much. Since everyone forgets me, there's never been a reason for me to care.
I suppose that's reasonable. Still, that must be... Well, it doesn't matter. Do you ever watch movies? Or TV? Just about everything has a love story in it nowadays, not just books.
Nah, not in a long time.
How long?
She sure asks a lot of questions, and they jump around topics so much, too. I don't really mind, but I have to try hard to even remember the answers. All the places I've seen and days I've spent have mostly blurred together in my head.
I'm not sure. A few years? There was a really big crowd around a window, so I wanted to see what they were all looking at.
And? What was it?
I don't know what it was. I didn't speak the language there yet, and I didn't memorize the sounds. But on TV, there were these people in white suits bouncing around, and the people watching seemed really excited by it.
Aspen gasps.
Did the people on TV... Do you remember, by chance, if the place they were hopping around looked like a desert, all rocky and empty?
Now that you mention it, yeah! How did you know?
She dashes a hand to her forehead in disbelief.
That was the moon landing!
No, I'm pretty sure I'd remember if the moon landed.
That line, that delivery. Oh, I love it.
Not like that, silly. It was when humans went to the moon for the first time.
Wait, they did?
Yes, and you saw it happen, apparently.
They must have had help from the Fableds' magic, right?
No, not this time. It was pure human ingenuity.
Whoa.
You look surprised.
I am. I didn't know humans could do something like that.
Well, not just any human. It took a lot of work from a lot of people. It still does to this day. I can't believe you got to watch it live, though. What was it like?
Had a really good lunch that day. Everyone was so distracted that I was able to sneak into a restaurant that usually would have caught me.
She shakes her head.
That's all you can remember.
It was some kind of pasta dish with a white sauce and lots of cheese.
I meant about... Oh, never mind.
Poor Aspen. Miho, you had a chance to watch one of the most famous things of all time.
Anyway, I was just going to suggest asking Juliet about putting a TV in your room. Surely there's one in this place somewhere. It would give you something to do, at least. And you don't have to be able to read to enjoy the story of a good show or movie.
Yeah, I might. I definitely need something to do other than walk around town all day.
Let me know if you do. I'll bring over some movies for you to borrow. If I can't recommend books to you, at least I can do that.
Will do. I don't know where else I'd start anyway.
After checking her phone, Aspen stands back up.
I'll be more than happy whenever you ask. For now, not to be rude, but I'm going to go write for a little while. I'm working on the last couple chapters of this book before I'm finished, and I want to be done with it as fast as I can.
Oh, sure. Good luck.
To tell the truth, I'm always a bit relieved when someone else sends the conversation for me. I never know how to do it myself. I wave goodbye as Aspen goes off to her table by the window, pen in hand. Within moments, she's hunched over her notebook, writing. Alright, so we get some more time here. Go back to the park and meet with Lena one more time. Quick save again, just in case. Take a little break and get a drink, too. All right. So obviously worth pointing out, if you want to, you can in fact skip these side stories. I'm not sure why you would want to. You do get little snippets of things if you go to these other places when there's not events there. There's little minor ones. And to get 100% in the game, you do have to do that, in fact. So, but they're, again, very inconsequential. It's just like a couple lines of text. So, since I don't have anything better to do, I decide to head back to the park to see Lena. Aspen told me where and when I could find her, although we both know that Lena won't have any idea who I am. Making sure that I see Aspen and Juliet every day is hard enough as it is. Although I like Lena, I don't think I could put the effort in to have her remember me too. Maybe if she started coming to the library in the mornings like Aspen does, although I'm pretty sure that's the last thing Aspen would ever want to happen. Go back to the park where we play tennis and wander around searching for Lena. Takes a bit longer since I'm not looking for something as obvious as a tennis court, but I finally found her in a group of people near some trees. All of them, including her, have shovels in their hands and are working on digging holes. Finally, something I'm good at. Although compared to tennis, it looks more like a punishment than a hobby. I walk over to Lena, who's barely made a dent in the ground. She waves when she sees me, but not in a familiar way.
Hi there! Here to volunteer?
Maybe? Volunteer for what?
It's interesting, it's almost like a reverse Groundhog Day. For everyone else, it's Miho's new and exciting, but for her, it's... well, I knew what I meant. I would totally play Groundhog Day, the visual novel.
To save the planet, duh! What does it look like we're doing?
Digging in the dirt?
Exactly! We're planting new trees to, help beautify the city of Wellington by promoting natural resources. I think.
She says the second part like she's reading off a label or sign.
If you want to help out, go talk to Cyrus. He'll get you all set up.
Lena points at someone I sort of recognize. Dryad Lena was watching when we played tennis. Since I'm here, I may as well give it a shot, so I follow her instructions and walk over.
Hi there. I'm here to help out.
Welcome aboard. I'm Cyrus. Here's a sapling and a shovel.
Cyrus holds a shovel in one hand and a small bucket with a tree in the other. I take them, doing my best not to drop the seedling.
Okay. I'm Miho. What do we do now?
First you dig, then you plant. Then you do that over and over until you get bored and go home.
That sounds easy enough.
Everyone says that at first. Good luck.
He starts to walk away, but then pauses.
Hey, quick question. Are you friends with that girl over there? The one with the wings?
Lena? Sort of.
Can you let me know if she... Actually, never mind. Forget it. Let me know if you need any help.
This time he really does leave, walking around to check the progress everyone's making. Now that I'm all set up, I take the things he gave me and go back to where Lena is.
Good to go? Since you're new too, let's have a race. We can see who plants more trees by the end.
Before I can respond, or even think about it, Lena starts furiously hacking at the ground. Dirt flies like when I was building my den. I watch her for a second, then start on my own. I don't really want to compete with Lena, so I go at my own pace. It's a little awkward. I could do this in seconds as a fox, but using a shovel feels strange and inefficient. Muscles I didn't even know I have start to feel sore. Only a few minutes later, Lena sprawls on the ground in exhaustion. She's only halfway done at best.
I didn't think it'd be so hard to dig a hole.
While she's lying there, Cyrus comes around on one of his inspections. He stops and examines both of our handiwork.
Nice job, Miho. You're a natural. Lena? Good effort.
Lena leaps to her feet, using her wings to propel herself into a standing position.
I wasn't taking a break. I was, testing the ground to see if it might be softer over here. Look, this one will be even better.
Before our eyes, Lena starts to attack the ground again, even faster than when she started racing me. Dirt sails over our heads as she tosses away from herself, with some of it falling onto Cyrus's head. He looks strangely resigned.
Just don't hurt yourself, okay? I don't want to have to carry someone to the hospital again.
Carrie? I mean, again?
Lena asks questions without stopping her work.
It's a long story. Anyway, just be careful.
As he begins to leave, Cyrus puts a hand on my shoulder. I tense up, but manage not to shake it off.
Keep an eye on her, would you?
I nod, and Cyrus walks away. As soon as he's out of earshot, Lena comes to a halt.
Miho, right? I need you to break my arm.
You... what?
Lena is down real bad. Like, real bad.
Yeah, maybe that's a bit much. Maybe just a finger would be enough.
Again, keep in mind, she doesn't know Miho. She has completely forgotten who she is. She's asking a stranger to mutilate her.
Why would you want to do that?
Oh, you're right! A broken leg would make more sense.
I'm not entirely sure we're having the same conversation. I decided to try a different approach.
So, are you and Cyrus friends or something?
Friends? Kind of. Unfortunately.
You don't want to be friends?
I want to be more than that!
For the first time ever, Lena looks around after speaking, like she's worried someone might have heard her.
Like, best friends?
More than that! Like boyfriend and girlfriend.
Oh.
That explains why I didn't understand.
How's that going?
She sighs and her wings droop.
Well, you just saw pretty much. I know Cyrus from ballet, but I quit ballet, so I only get to see him at other stuff like this. But he's always trying something new every week, so I do too. But it's kind of hard to talk to him, especially when he's so busy. When I heard he was gonna come plant trees, I had no idea he'd be in charge. So I can't let him think I'm a slacker or bad at tennis. Not when he already thinks I'm a quitter.
I think I get it.
The one thing I know for sure is that it sounds complicated. Good luck, Lena. Two of us go back to shoveling dirt, and eventually we go deep enough that we can plant the sapling Cyrus gave us. Carefully set mine in the ground and cover it back up with the same way I've seen other people doing. When it's time to wrap up, Cyrus makes one last trip around, collecting shovels and handing out water bottles. When he reaches us, he nods approvingly.
Good work, both of you.
Thanks.
Gulp the water down, he gives me in just a few swigs.
Yeah, thanks.
On the other hand, Lena still seems a little dejected. She doesn't even try to talk to Cyrus before he leaves. When the two of us part ways, she just gives me a half-hearted wave.
See you later.
Yeah, bye.
I'm not even sure what she'll be doing next time, much less when or where. Maybe Aspen will tell me about it again. Digging holes wasn't exactly something I'd want to do a second time, but planting a tree was satisfying. And I'm kind of curious to see how things go with Lena and Cyrus, if they go at all. Lena's kind of a lot, as Aspen says, but she's nice. Hope everything works out for her at least. Looking around, I notice that I'm the only one left, so I toss my empty bottle in a recycling bin and start making my way back. Alright, it's Friday morning, so yeah, just like Aspen said, or not Aspen, sorry, Juliet said, we get the rest of the week, so go back to the waterfront. You can kind of pick and choose, but then you won't get a complete story from either of them, which is a little unfortunate, so we just have to keep doing the one. I decided to give fishing another try. Last time wasn't successful, but maybe I'll have more luck today. When I go to the fishing spot, I see a familiar face. Mr. Kim is there, of course, dancing around between the students. This time he notices me right away.
Hello, miss. Is that a new face I spy?
Yep, I wanted to do some fishing today.
That's the kind of attitude I like to see. Let's get you started.
I take a spot on the pier while he brings me the same equipment as last time.
All right, let's start with the basics. Do you know how to set up your line?
I think so.
It didn't seem that difficult last time, but when I try to recreate what I did before, I end up getting a little confused.
Okay, so put the worm on the string. Oh, wait, no, the hook. The hook goes on the string, and then... Oh, I messed it up.
String has gotten all tangled on itself. No self-respecting fish is going to be interested in that.
Not to worry.
You're all right, Mr. Kim. He laughs at his own joke as he comes over and quickly undoes the knot.
Okay, let's try again.
It takes some time, but eventually I'm ready. Fortunately, I remember this next part better. I stand like he showed me, hold the rod he showed me, and let the line fly. Watch it excitedly as it sails overhead and splashes into the water.
Excellent job. Why, if I didn't know any better, I think I taught you myself.
That's weird. Huh. I smile in response. With my problem solved, Mr. Kim goes off to assist someone else, while I turn my attention back to the sea.
Here, fishy fishy.
I'm ready. No fish will be getting away from me today. The instant I feel a tug, I'll be reeling it in, just like that other person when I came here before. Just gotta wait. And wait. And...
Nothing's biting.
It happens.
Mr. Kim pops up seemingly out of nowhere.
Just give the fish some time. You'd be shy too if someone started offering you a meal out of nowhere.
Oh, you've no idea. Well, he's got me there. I nod and keep waiting, but I can feel the boredom sinking in. I was willing to give the fishing a second chance, but if it's just going to be like this every time, then I probably won't be coming back. Suddenly, I feel the fishing pole jerk in my hands. It takes me by surprise and I almost let go, but managed to hold on tight.
Oh, I think something's biting.
Reel it in! You can do it!
Right. Reel it in. To do that, my head is spinning as I try to remember what to do. Meanwhile, the reel is spinning as the fish, my fish, tries to get away. It smacks my hand, jolting my memory.
Oh, yeah.
I grab it and start turning it the other way, pulling the rod towards myself as I do. I can feel the fish still out of sight, struggling against me.
Not today.
All the time I spent waiting has made me extra determined. I plant my feet firmly and keep reeling. Gradually, the line gets tighter and tighter, until finally the fish breaks through the water, dangling on the other end.
I did it!
You did it!
I bring the fish in to where I can see it more closely. It's not as big as the fish I watched get caught last time, but it's not tiny either. Just down the pier, someone else is reeling in a catch too.
So, what are you gonna do with it?
Huh? What do you mean?
Maybe he's asking how I plan to cook it.
Will you be keeping it or letting it go?
Let it go? I just worked hard to catch it.
Mr. Kim laughs. Behind him, the person who just caught something takes a picture of their prize and then tosses it back into the water.
Why did they do that?
Well, everyone has to eat. That's just part of life, and I love a good fish dinner as much as anyone. But some just enjoy the sport and the struggle, and release the little guy once he's been defeated.
I look at the fish I caught, its tail flapping gently. There's a mark on its mouth that doesn't look natural.
What's that?
I point it out so Mr. Kim can see. He only has to glance at it.
Looks like it isn't this fellow's first time being caught. That is a battle scar.
A scar. So he's been caught before and either got away or was released. It's up to me to decide if his luck runs out or not. Sighing, I unhook the fish and toss it back into the water, where it instantly swims down and out of sight.
Try to be more careful next time.
If I was hungry, it'd be a different story. My belly is full and Juliet just went shopping, so there's plenty of food at home. So I figured I may as well let this one go. Walking up beside me, Mr. Kim looks out at the sea.
You know, maybe that kindness will come back to you someday. I'm sure the fish appreciates it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how useful it is to have a fish owe me a favor, but I know what Mr. Kim means. I hand him back the fishing pole and box of lures that he gave me.
Done for the day?
Yeah, now that I've gotten to see what it's like.
Well, if you decide to join us again, the fish will be here. And so will I.
Maybe I will too. Thanks for the help.
Of course, of course. The pleasure is all mine. Have a good day, miss.
I wave and head back up the pier. Another day spent entertaining myself around, I decided to take Aspen's advice and ask Juliet about a TV. Light on is on in Juliet's study, meaning she's in there. Knock on the door and get an instant response.
Come in.
The study hasn't changed at all since I was here a couple days ago, except there aren't any bats in the corner this time. It's just me and her.
Hi.
Good evening, Miho. What brings you here?
I'm a little bit worried about how to do this. Usually I just take something I want. Lately I've started saying yes when people offer me things. But going in and just asking for something? Well, I'll have to do it sometime.
I had a question. Yesterday, Aspen said I should ask about getting a TV in my room. That way, I'd have something to do.
Oh, that is a good idea. I take it today wasn't particularly exciting either.
Not really. It was fine. Nothing bad happened. I'm just...
I don't want to say I'm bored. What if she thinks I'm blaming her or being ungrateful? I bite my lip, trying to think of a better way to put it, but she seems to read my mind.
Bored? It's all right, you can say it. An empty room would be boring for anyone. I believe there should be a television somewhere around. Let's take a look.
Follow her out of her office. Juliet takes me down one of the hallways I've never been, and where I don't think I've even seen the lights turned on. I pass by several doors.
What are all these rooms?
They've been all kinds of things over the years. Bedrooms, studies, playrooms. But now they're mostly just storage.
We stop in front of one door, indistinguishable from the rest.
I believe this is the one.
It's not locked. Juliet just opens it normally. Inside is dark and dusty. The window is covered with heavy curtains that don't let any light in. In other words, what you'd expect from a vampire's house. There's tons of junk leaning against the walls, like some faded bicycles and a dresser that's missing a drawer.
Ah, there it is.
Juliet points and I see what she's looking at. There's a TV in one corner with its cords wrapped around itself in a thick blanket of dust. Both walk over and I wipe some of the dust away. It immediately blows into my face.
Miho, are you all right?
Still, I back a few steps away.
As you can tell, it's been a while since I've come in here.
Much more carefully than me, Juliet cleans off the TV.
I believe it should still work, though.
Okay, I can move it to my room then.
It's all right. I can take it.
Juliet effortlessly lifts the TV up and begins to carry it to my room.
Whoa.
I know from plenty of experiences that TVs aren't exactly easy to lift.
I need to remind myself to never piss her off.
I thought you knew that before, when you knew that she was a vampire. I hurry after her, arriving at my room just as she sets the TV down in the corner and plugs it in.
Let's see.
She presses the power button, and with a soft buzz, it comes to life.
It works!
Indeed. I'm relieved. Let me try to remember how to use it.
It's kind of slow, but she manages to explain all the different buttons and what they do and how to use the remote. It doesn't seem that complicated, but also I never learned how to do it either. Once we make sure it's not going to die or anything, Juliet leaves me on my own with it. Change through all the channels, getting an idea for what there is. Some channels with cartoons, which I know are meant for kids. Also some shows with real people in them, but they don't make much sense to me. Maybe if I watched from the beginning. Also plenty of ads. Recognize more products than I do shows. That probably has something to do with my lifestyle more than anything else, though. Even flipping through stations constantly, I find myself having much more fun than if I was just napping or walking around. I can see why some humans do this all day. Eventually I go back to one of the cartoon channels. Even if they're for kids, they're easier to follow along with. I pick one and leave it running, climbing into bed to watch. I end up spending a few hours watching until I fall asleep that night. Having something else to follow along with and think about is a nice distraction from having my own doubts and worries creep up on me. If this is what normal life is like, maybe it's something I could get used to after all. All right. Now we have another event here. We are going to leave it here, though, because we're coming up to a big section, I remember. One that has to be done in a single chunk. And it's also not one that I want to lead with in a stream. So we're going to start here so that next time we come back, we'll still be in Chapter 2, have some fun with Lena at the park, and then get into another section there. So let's see if we can do a regular save. Yes. All right. So ignore those other save games there. They might be spoilers. I didn't even think about that. You probably let me I guess it's too late now. Anyway, so yeah, we will be stopping here for today and picking this up at a later date. So again, this is Please Be Happy. We're getting into kind of the meat of the game now, learning a little bit more about Lena or not Lena. Well, we are learning more about Lena, Miho and her world, including her friends, Aspen and Juliet and Lena and Mr. Kim in this case. So obviously this is a story about Miho and sort of coming to grips with the world around her, and it's very interesting and fun, and some other emotions that we'll get into next time. So anyway, I'm certainly enjoying this once again, and whether you're here live or you happen to watch this VOD later on down the road, I hope you enjoy it too. And until next time, have a good one.